Money Arata. In 2021, China banned Bitcoin miners from operating in its territory. Afterwards, it also banned any operation with cryptocurrencies. Everyone was commenting on the news with great concern, and some people speculated that when there would be a move by governments to ban Bitcoin, it would be the end. However, Bitcoin continues to advance very well and with increasing strength. First, let's get to the facts. China made 3 bans on cryptocurrencies during the year 2021. In May, it banned financial institutions from trading cryptocurrencies. In June, it banned the activity of miners. And in September, it banned the use of cryptocurrencies in the country. The reason given was individual risks to society, but in practice it seems to be just a reaction to the loss of the power of the state over money. And that's the good news. Miners can easily migrate to other regions, and the Bitcoin network continues to function normally. Chinese users who have the private keys continue to own Bitcoin themselves, and if they want to move these Bitcoins, they can also use different privacy methods. It is pretty similar to banning Twitter or YouTube or Google and other social networks in China. The ban is impossible to enforce effectively. When a centralizing country bans Bitcoin, it only proves that Bitcoin is something relevant and successful in its ideal of decentralizing power over money and returning control of money to the people, taking the concentration of power out of the hands of the state and so avoiding abuse. That is why news like these are cause for celebration and not concern. Take note, this is not financial advice. Read the full disclaimer before proceeding. The concentration of miners in a single country was greatly reduced with the Chinese ban. Let's talk about the ban of miners operating in China. When China banned cryptocurrency mining, 70% of Bitcoin miners had their machines operating on Chinese territory. This concentration of miners in China was one of the main components of the China FUD, the strategy of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about the security of Bitcoin. The foundation of Bitcoin is to be a decentralized currency without authorities that can unilaterally decide the future of the currency, free from state interference, in which the network of the users itself acts as participants and regulators of the system. This idea aligns with the principles of economic liberalism, which values a free economy driven by individuals with minimal state participation. The Chinese ban has caused miners to decentralize a little more, including moving to other countries with an economy that can be considered to be more free. An important part of Bitcoin self-regulation is done by miners. It is the miners who confirm the transactions, add the blocks to the blockchain, and thus organize the network securely. Now remember that Bitcoin has been around since 2008. It has never been hacked, even though it is worth hundreds of billions of dollars. This security happens because Bitcoin is the network with the greatest computing power on planet Earth. And all this computing power is being provided by the miners. You can watch the episode number 21 of the Money Arata series if you want to have a better understanding in more detail about how this works. When miners began to focus on China, even joining together to form mining pools, this raised concerns among some people. Instead of decentralization, the association of many miners could lead to one of the associations dominating more than half of the mining machines. To make matters worse, this concentration took place in a country with very centralized and authoritarian political power. When China banned mining, machines migrated to countries with greater freedom. The advantage of Bitcoin is that it is a decentralized network. It is driven by the interests of the market, and this allows you to quickly respond to economic incentives. Before, miners went to China because it was more profitable to mine there. Electricity and leases for mining farms were relatively cheaper in some regions of China than in other countries with a similar infrastructure. And when China banned cryptocurrency mining, the miners just migrated to other countries and they continued to operate. The Chinese ban was the biggest change in the geographic distribution of Bitcoin mining since mining activity professionalized on an industrial scale. But that is cause for celebration. Now we have a more decentralized network that is operating in freer countries. The Chinese ban is a testament to Bitcoin's success and it should be celebrated. Now let's talk about the ban on the use of cryptocurrencies in China, which took place in September 2021 after the mining ban. Once again, this news should be the cause for celebration rather than concern. And to understand this, we need to go back to the origins of money and the reasons for the creation of Bitcoin. Money was created by individuals as an instrument to solve private problems. That is, to facilitate the control of who had something to give and who had something to receive in exchange of services and goods. Only later did governments take control of the money, centralizing the various currencies under an official state currency that people were obliged to accept by the force of law. This centralization of powers in the hands of the government began to generate some abuses. In order to have more money without raising taxes, the rulers abandoned any backing and they started basically printing money whenever they needed more resources. This generates currency inflation, devaluing the money that you worked to earn. The economist Milton Friedman explains this very well. He says that inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon in the sense that it is and can be produced only by a more rapid increase in the quantity of money than in output. The government's abuse of control over money became very clear with the 2008 economic crisis, which started in the United States and then it spread across the world. At that time, it became clear how financial institutions privatized profit and socialized loss. Also in 2008, the Bitcoin white paper was released, and it was just an article proposing the creation of a private, decentralized currency, free from the abuses of government or any other central authority. It was a liberal ideal of returning control of money to us, to individuals. Today, Bitcoin is the only decentralized currency in the world. It is used by millions of people with a market value of hundreds of billions of dollars. Bitcoin takes away part of the ruler's power over money. And nobody likes to lose power. Therefore, some reactions are expected. In countries with centralized political power like China, this reaction can be done in a stroke of a pen. The ruler simply passes a law forbidding the use of Bitcoin on their territory. This has happened in other countries, such as Egypt, Iraq, Qatar, Oman, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Bangladesh. Some people view this with concern, but this kind of reaction is precisely a testament to Bitcoin's success. If it were irrelevant, governments wouldn't need to see Bitcoin as a threat to their own power to control money. They wouldn't have to react. The fact that they are reacting means that Bitcoin is fulfilling its purpose. And furthermore, a law alone does not have the power to stop the Bitcoin network. If a resident of these countries had Bitcoins, they will continue to have their Bitcoins because the law is not able to enter the Bitcoin network and remove the wealth from the people. Currencies are safe and secure by the laws of mathematics, protected by decentralization. If the person wants to, they can continue to use the Bitcoins in any country. Another interesting example is the case of Nigeria, which also has several restrictions against Bitcoin, but it is one of the countries with the highest adoption because it solves people's real problems. So if you believe in the Bitcoin ideal, you can celebrate. Now we have a more decentralized network with more miners in freer countries and with concrete proof that Bitcoin is fulfilling the purpose of being decentralized money, safe and controlled by the people and not the government. China has banned the mining and use of Bitcoin on its territory, but this news should not be a cause for concern, but for celebration, for those who believe in Bitcoin's ideals of being a decentralized, free and people-controlled currency. The Chinese ban scattered the miners around the world, caused some of them to migrate to freer countries, and proved that Bitcoin's objective of taking away some of the government's power over money is being fulfilled. This is just proof of Bitcoin's success, showing that it will still appreciate a lot in the long run. This episode here was theoretical, so in case you are interested in practical content on how to achieve your financial freedom, I invite you to take a look at our Diamond Hands course. This course teaches us everything that you need to know about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in an easy and secure way, and to get to know Diamond Hands, you can access arata.se/Diamond Hands.